Hello and welcome everyone. If you're finding me for the first time, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to get updates whenever I upload. I cover series such as Game of Thrones, Westworld, The Walking Dead, Vikings, and much more. This particular video will be my recap and review of Victoria Season 2, Episode 5. In these weekly segments for ITV's Victoria, I do a brief recap of the latest episode and provide my own personal thoughts along with a rating that's on a scale from 1 to 10. So let's not waste any time and let's jump into the episode. So for starters, I'll say right up front that I found this episode to be the weakest episode of the series thus far. I'm usually pleased with the show, but this week was a disappointment. So in brief, we see Victoria and Albert, along with advisors and members of the Queen's household, to visit France with the intentions of trying to persuade the king not to marry his son off to a Spanish princess, and instead consider an English option or the Coburg match that has evidently also been presented. The Prime Minister of England is afraid at this time that the French will see the pushing of a Coburg suitor as a conspiracy of sorts by the crown. If any listeners are unaware of where Coburg is or the importance of it, simply put, it's currently at the time of this series in a not yet unified Germany and is the home of Albert. Naturally, this most likely would have been a concern to the French king, King Louis Philippe, who was the king at the time. And the match does appear to be something that was really suggested in real life, and Queen Victoria did in fact visit France to meet with King Louis Philippe, who actually will become the last king of France after he advocates the crown some years later, and his reign is now referred to as the July Monarchy. I will leave some links in the description below, some rather interesting information about the King of France at this time, since the king's rule is followed by France essentially burning through every government known to man, only to end up with another emperor. And ironically, it was another Napoleon, a much lesser known Napoleon III, the grandson of Napoleon, a very interesting time. And as I said, I will leave the links below. But the one good thing that does come out of this trip and episode is Albert, who overcomes his shameful feelings of illegitimacy caused by Uncle Leopold's confession in the last episode. It was the only thing I enjoyed about this episode, and Tom Hughes did a good job of conveying the need Albert feels and actually felt in real life to distance himself from the tarnished reputation of his home and family. Coburg was surrounded by scandal at this time, and it is a driving force not only by the way he conducted himself, but in the way that he schooled his and the Queen's children. This was something he was devoted to do for his entire life, which resulted in both negative and positive behaviors and outcomes. Was Victoria the first English monarch to visit France since Henry VIII? Yes. Was any of this episode anything to do with what that real trip was? No one can know and no one knows. Besides the development in Albert, it did unfortunately seem to me that this episode was meant to be nothing more than eye candy. As far as the Drummond and Lord Paget relationship, either do something with it or don't. I can't bear another scene with those two giving each other just that look and nothing coming of it. We are all on board. We're not against this becoming part of the show. Just at least develop it into a story that is worthwhile. I don't really have anything else to say. I really do hope they pick up the seriousness of this series in the second half. I do give this episode unfortunately a 5.5 out of 10. Make sure to check me out on the Patreon link in the information below and consider becoming a member. A small amount from you guys will really make a world of difference for me, and it will include some pretty cool perks for you as well. So thanks everybody, and I will see you soon.